Hello everyone, welcome back to the Worldwide Crimes, and now let's begin the video. For today's case, we are in Immerland, Isle, Ireland. In Balmain, northern Dublin, lived Lisa Thompson. Lisa had lived there her entire life, being at Sandy Hills Garden for over a decade. She was very popular and well liked by her neighbors and other locals. 52 years old, Lisa was a former youth worker and she was described as a lovely woman who would help anyone who needed her, and her best friend saying she had a heart of gold. She was also described as quiet and someone who kept herself to herself. She was a devoted mother who called her two children her jewelries. At this point, her children were living with their fathers, and although they were no longer together, she and her ex had a good relationship with each other. So now let's go back to the 9th May 2022. In early morning hours around 2 a.m., Lisa's neighbor had heard something strange. She heard banging and various odd noises. She looked out of her window and saw something even stranger. There was a man in Lisa's back garden carrying bags. She watched as he loaded the bags into the back of his vehicle, which then set off in the direction of the main road. She would let her knock on Lisa's door in 3 separate occasions, but there was no answers. She wasn't the only neighbor who had observed something odd. Another neighbor had also heard banging on the wall that night, the gate opening and then vehicle roaring off. When she looked out, she saw a light in the kitchen, which, given the time, struck her as rather odd. The 10th of May, her neighbor was now becoming extremely concerned due to the lack of contact, so she decided to go and check on her. That front door was locked, but unusually, the back door wasn't. At 3:30 p.m., Lisa's body was found lying in the rear door of her home. The bedroom had been stacked. Two knives were also missing from the kitchen. Another neighbor then came over and the emergency services were called. The Gardaí were soon on scene after receiving a call from the Dublin Fire Bridge about what was happening at the house. Lisa had numerous stab wounds to her chest, her nose, and her mouth were bloody, and a cord from a window blind was warped around her neck. She had been stabbed in her chest 11 times and strangled. 6 of stab wounds had pierced her. A pathologist found that she had died as a result of stab wounds to left side of her chest and strangulation causing asphyxiation. Seeing that emergency services everywhere, many people began to gather to see what was unfolding at the scene was prescribed as and the crime scene. Examiners were also going through the house of the fire, and forensics officers examined the area at the back of the house. For the locals, they were completely stunted. She loved her children and loved her life. She was just a genuine, really nice girl. I can't understand it at all. Say one of at it was clear how much she was loved by so many people. So what's on earth could have been the motive for killing a brutal killing for a woman? Was this someone just taking a chance at a random house? Was this a personal dispute? Was this an argument that had got out of control? At the same time, as the police were piecing together details of Lisa's last day, the media went out in full forces, digging into Lisa and her background and her daily life. The Irish Independent reported that sources said she may have become vulnerable and indirectly associated with local crime elements. Information had came in that this highly respected lady's life had become a bit take in last few months, sources said. A search of home found a prescription tablets worth almost 50,000 euro hidden in the attic in a large bag. A neighbor said that Lisa had been dealing tablets from her house for 15 euro per tray and that she may be 5 or 6 people who brought them. Various items had been stolen from her home, including her wallet and jewelry. Despite the bedroom being trashed and the sign of robbery, there were no signs of break in. Did this mean that she had known the killer and independently led them? She was reportedly very careful about who she led into her home, and her neighbor recorded Lisa locking the back gate behind her in early hours of the night. A vigil was held, and many people gathered in a signed a book of condolences and candles were lighted. The organizers, Galenda Harrington, said it was a huge shock. The reason we did this is we feel like there is a lot of focus on what happened to Lisa in the tragic way that she died. And I don't think the focus was on Lisa as a person and as a community. We wanted to rally around Lisa and show her support. Many women in the area were in fear, worried that her killer would strike them again. We just wanted to erase that fear of people's women. One of the cornerstones of many modern police investigation is CCTV. CCTV cameras, Elysium witnesses, and can help paint clear pictures of how events unfold or what happened in the aftermath, and this case was no different from all others. At 2:28 a.m., a Hyundai being driven by a female with a male in the passenger seat was seen traveling down into Sandy Hill Garden. At 2:50 a.m., the man was seen leaving the house but via the back door, and he was carrying something with him. He got into the waiting vehicle which then drove off. The car was then driven into the Apple Green service station at St. Margaret's Road at 3 a.m. with a male still in passenger seat. He was going through a red wallet and red pillowcase, putting items in his pockets at 3:23 a.m. He exited the vehicle and walked towards the hatch where he counted the money out. The car then drove off at the 3:40 a.m. 24 minutes later, the car came back and parked up. The driver then got out and opened the boots, and the man got into the driver's seat, and he appeared to be holding something. Then left at 4:48 a.m. The worker who had dealt with the mail at the hatch would later say that the man had dove tattoo in his hand and a very sinister vibe. He said he had a bit of energy and seemed happy. Despite the time of the day, he said he poured bands and gemmed rings into the tray and told him he could buy it all for 800 euro, but it was worth more than 3000 euro. I looked at it real quick and said I wasn't interested. I remember gems seeing a green and red gem and few more bands. The man said he asked him his name by the man, just said he would see him around. Clearly, he did something wrong to be showing me rings at 2 a.m. in the morning at petrol station. He said the man and woman spent roughly around 40 minutes there and appeared to be clean or shake out the mats from the car. The car and its occupants were obviously the keys to this case, so they hunted for them on another CCTV footage, and they soon found them at a Clayton hotel at Dublin Airport. Further investigation found Lisa's driving license on a slip road on 10th of May, and the car that had been seen on the CCTV footage could be easily have been in that area. A search of wasteland beside the Apple Green service station uncovered Lisa's keys and medication in her name. Detective Gardner Cahul Connolly had been posted a Blonde Card station for 16 years, and during his time there, he came to know the residents and local people very well. On 15th May, he viewed various clips of CCTV, and in one of them recognized the men. He said that since 2005, he had met this man several times through his work in the police, and he was under no doubt it was him in the footage. He had a very clear view that this was no other than that man. Sergeant Michael Harkin said he too recognized the man. He too had the various reunions with him and knew the minute he saw him who it was. He been recognized due to his stature. He had been recognized due to his stature, his tattoos, and the dexterous way in which he walked. It would emerge that this man was actually known to Lisa. Brian McHugh had a casual fling with her in the year before her death. A witness's name Alison said she had known Lisa since 2012. When she moved into the area, she also knew that she had been casually seeing Brian, saying it was a bit of a fling or some kind of entanglement, but that it had kind of fizzled out. Lisa and Brian had allegedly got back in touch a couple of months before she was killed. As already established, he was very well known to the police. Brian McHugh had 50 previous convictions, including 24 theft and burglary, 8 relating to drugs, 5 for robberies, 2 for possession of knife and 1 for criminal damage. Brian was living with his mom at the time. So I searched there was carried out. Some of Lisa's missing jewelry was found in the home in the drawer of backside locker with her DNA on it. Red was also the main color of Lisa's bedding, and footage from service station had shown him going through a red pillowcase and red wallet. A red pillowcase was also found at the home. Jewelry, evaluation certificate, and a parking stop for the Clayton Hotel were found in the car with his fingerprints on. And Brian DNA was found on cord that had been used to strangle Lisa. He was arrested on suspicion of murder when asked about being at her house during these hours. He gave no comments, no answers. He also didn't deny that he was not the person on the footage. He later charged with and entered a plea of not guilty. But it was clear from the footage that he was not there alone. Then who was the mysterious woman? Well, that would soon be brought into the light. On Friday morning, a woman was arrested in connection with the investigation, suspected of being the getaway driver and helping him to evade capture. Dedra was a former HSSE addiction counselor, and she had been in a relationship with Brian's. After meeting Brian, she had become addicted to crack cocaine and heroin, and would later get an interim bargaining order against him and make reports of domestic abuse. In one such instance, she told the officers that he had broken her arm by holding it on a step and stomping on it. In recording from the 22nd November 2021, Brian would be heard threatening that he would cut her throat, calling her a dirty, smelly blondie. I am telling you, if you want to get the cops up for me, you are dead. Wind me up one more time and you are dead, he said that to her. Dara had a previous conviction from 2022 for attempting to drive under the influence of drugs following Lisa's murder. Dara would check variants into the Clayton Hotel by Dublin Airport. She was allowed for her vehicle to be used to get rid of things that had been taken from her home. Text messages sent to Brian's phone from a number linked to her dated on the 18th and 19th of June 2022, and not long after Lisa's number said, I would have been like Lisa today, strangled and stabbed. Look what you done my arm in 3 pieces. I choked marks around my neck. Crudely, details of a strangulation and literature were not in the public domain. When these text messages were sent, other text messages sent from a number saved under the name. Dara said, I near and like Lisa and you try to kill me. You are an animal. More messages said, more Lisa and all move the knife, did you? This was obviously painting a very dark picture about what had happened there, but it would be for jury to decide, and they would both be tried separately. A pre-trial ruling was made that the eviction from the two officers who said they had recognized Barron from the CCTV taken from near Lisa's home should not be included due to their involvement in the investigation, but in what was reportedly at first appeal of its kind. Was this overturned by the Court of Appeal, and the evidence was restored and would be presented to the jury? It was now the time for Barron's to go on trial. Lisa's loved one arrived at the court also, wearing shirts that said "Justice for Lisa," were determined to be her voice and to see this through to the very end. In her opening arguments, the prosecutor said that a mixed DNA profile was found on the blind cord that had been used to strangle Lisa, and that he accused would not be excluded as a contributor. It was said that the chance of DNA coming from anyone else was 1 in 1,000 million. The prosecutor painted a picture of violent offender who had brutally murdered and robbed a woman he had known before, shamelessly trying to sell her things. Whilst the defense were attempting to paint Lisa as a woman with secrets, with more of her killing and appeared on a surface. Barron's lawyer said, "You certainly have a slightly different picture. Imagining someone who has people coming in and out of the house at all hours of the night and day, where everyone seems to use the back gate, everyone seems to know how to get in. There is no signs of break-in. Whoever entered in, it was so obvious by the invitation or was let in it. It does mean you have a far more complex situation than simply someone being found dead in the house. But what about the blind? He said that his DNA had been there, as he had been in and out of her home for last 3 years. The prosecution said that his excuse for his DNA being on the cord was simply not credible at all. It wasn't just a DNA, it was also the CCTV. It was also the statement from the witness at the Apple Green service station. Alongside everything that was known about his violent past and the witness statement from Lisa's neighbor, Fiona Murphy, SC, said that the prosecution had meticulously presented a tapestry of a circumstantial evidence that painted a compelling picture of Barron guilty. On 27 February 2025, while the trial itself had focused on the evidence, the testimony, and securing a guilty verdict, the victim impact statements were about something different. It was about giving a voice back to the people who had suffered the most and giving them a chance to speak directly to the court. On 10th March 2025, Barron was sentenced to the life in prison. And about Dara, they agreed that she knew he had murdered Lisa and wanted outside for well over an hour before driving him away. She denied knowing that Biryan was going to commit a murder and also denied any acknowledge of him doing it up until the trial. The judge said he had found this difficult to accept given the text sent between her and Biryan. She was remain a bail pending sentence. Lisa's life was shortcut in most brutal ways, and her life was taken by someone she knew all through. She had faced challenges and periods of darkness. She remained devoted to her children. Her love for them was constant, and they were always at the corner of her world. Lisa had so much love, more to do, so much love, more to see, and her story should never have ended like this. The most painful truth is that her children now carry the unbearable trauma for her life, a loss that will shape their life forever till the end. If you guys wanted to see more crime documentaries like this, then you can subscribe to my YouTube channel Worldwide Crimes, and till then I'll see you in my next video.